Good evening, it's me, Marcelo Ponce Campos, and I'm here to bring you, to all of you, my final project. In philosophy, power has always been one of the major central points of study. How it relates to the human, and how it treats the same to achieve its objectives. However, as we have proposed through these various projects, the power of knowledge is one of its greatest exponents. This power, beyond being a repressive power or that can cause chaos, etc., the ways that we can use knowledge as power, it can become, and it allows to empower those in vulnerable situations. Among other things, knowing this, the way in which information is distributed is a key point in philosophical research. I have to talk about again my own argument. In my opinion, I consider that one of the biggest problems for access to information is the economic gap itself, where many people are unable to obtain their information from reliable sources. However, from a philosophical point, I think it's more interesting. From the point of view of philosophy, I can see and we can understand that it has a great similarity with the cave of Plato. Starting from the approach of a hidden knowledge to the population, to this being a dilemma similar to the interior of a cave. The different distribution of information in our world is uneven, since there are some chosen to leave the cave and others simply must redeem themselves not to live and remain in perpetual ignorance. And they did not ask for and cannot control that situation. So, since we know the philosopher addresses several relevant points, whether it is how this chosen one feels strange when they return to the cave, this can be seen in our environment, where the privileged with access, like myself for example, I have access to information by school, well, they can discriminate or do less the others that do not have access to information or do not get involved in these kind of situations. So, Plato also talks about the difference between having knowledge and opinion, and I think this is something very important. This seen from a subject of study is relevant to understand the distribution of information in the population, and since truthful information is often confused with simple opinions of those who distribute the news and the data, among others. So we don't have in our society a clear way to know knowledge. For my argument, I could be said that anyone could access the information through means such as public libraries, radio, or the internet itself. However, I think that these people are losing sight of the fact that the economic gap makes working hours so long that there is no time to get informed. In addition to the fact that the acquisition of electronic devices such as radios or cell phones are exceeding my basic needs. We also have the situation that people don't have, the amount of time to make look into what they are knowing, who are they being thought about information. So if we don't have a critic side of what we know, because we don't have time, we can tell these people that they are ignorant because they don't have the time. So I think it's something very relevant, and I would answer to their to the reply by this, saying sometimes the economic gap has a lot of problems, and this is one of the most important problems in these situations. Finally, for the arguments from Plato's point of view, it could be said that this is not something that could happen with the so-called chosen to leave the cave, since with information they could help others. However, many times the social prejudice and especially the knowledge being power causes that sometimes there is some discrimination and avoids the distribution of information. We know that Plato states that this person should go out and tell other about, well, when he comes back to the cave, should tell the others, but sometimes we can't trust this person at all, because how do we know this is real? If we don't have a critic's point of view of this information, we can't trust anyone. Why? Because we don't know if the information is true or false. I can conclude that my topic has a lot to do with Plato's philosophy, and that it is strongly linked to the inequalities of this world, considering that the information and data that are collected and given in order to start talking about the conditions that create social gaps between humans. I think that information is something very important for humans. We live in that. We know, we learn, and what we learn, we become. So I think that in some future we could have this critic point of view and never trust someone that said that came out of the cave, and start criticizing if what he saw outside the cave was real. Thank you, teacher, and thank you for this great semester.